acolytes of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
Okay. Those two sections of the government are completely infiltrated by far left crypto
haters,
Bitcoin haters. And they are doing so under the auspices of classic attacks, like it's bad for the environment and it's the fodder of criminals.
Such ignorance.
But their audience that they pander to buys this shit. And so now getting back to the meeting in Czech with Ludmila and, the group there, we fought a little of that. So we got a receptive ear, but that congressman did ask some of those same things.
Yeah.
And, we talked about energy. We talked about financial independence. The reason that I told you, like the story about the troops rolling through this guy's hometown when he was a young boy, was about the sovereignty and property rights that he got, like that resonated with him. Like, hey, that he needed to protect Czech citizens. And while he didn't say it, I think he implied it. Like, they're only a few hundred miles away from the Russian front. In his lifetime, he was under Soviet rule. So, those things resonate with those people, and they get that Bitcoin has a value proposition. He does. Has a value proposition that goes beyond whatever price it is.
Yeah. That's been the toughest thing at like these meetups when I deal with people that are just, they were born and raised in the US and, they like the idea that it's like this digital gold, but to really understand, and Alex Gladstein has a book like Check Your Financial Privilege, right?
Yep.
Like I've noticed this, like it's such an easier conversation when it's like I've got South American or Hispanic immigrants coming to the meetup, or like people that are like,
absolutely
been in hyperinflating, like had hyperinflation or seen it in their family, like witnessed the effects. Venezuelans, right? Argentinians, people from South America, etc. Like they get it instantly. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, we're here in South Florida, and occasionally I'll go speak at a small group or something like that of non-Bitcoiners, by the way. But they'll say, hey, can you come in and tell us about this thing? And I usually open the conversation by saying, what I'm about to tell you is going to be harder for you to grasp and understand than almost any other group.
I like that.
And I say it's not because you guys aren't smart. It's because the financial system, the global financial system, is tremendously broken, but it didn't hurt you. And I'll say this conversation would be a lot easier, kind of saying something similar. Conversation would be a lot easier if you were a guy selling the ice cream in Bolivia, or you're a carpet weaver in Kenya, than it would be sitting, here in Naples, Florida. So it's going to be really hard for them. No, I had in my personal life, I didn't grow up in a poor background, but I certainly wasn't rich. I was probably lower middle class to middle class. My parents worked hard. Neither had graduated college, but I had some level of, on a global basis, a pretty privileged position, or blessed position, probably a better way to put it. My wife, Lola, who you've met, she's born and raised in the Philippines. She was born in 1970. And in 1970 in the Philippines, Philippines was ruled by a dictator named Marcos. And I think it was the year she was born, when she was an infant, company went under martial law. The company did not leave martial law till 1986, when she was 16 years old, when finally there was a revolution and they overthrew the government. But she spent her entire childhood and, the formative years living under martial law. And what did that mean? That means like Constitution suspended, people just disappeared.
That's crazy.
No trials. Massive amounts of financial misconduct by the bureaucrats in the government, raping and pillaging, at least in a financial sense, the wealth of the country. And they're still suffering from it 40 years later. I mean, they still have not recovered from this thing. So it helped me, having obviously knowing her and then spending time there and being in that environment, I got a chance to have more of this firsthand kind of view of what is it like in the second and third world? What is it like living under a dictator? Like you said, the Gladstein book, and what he does with the Human Rights Foundation, what the open dialogue people do. It resonates with me. And Ludmilla, for instance, she was persecuted. And I'm sure she probably told you the story.
Well, we're going to have her back here in a couple of days too. So I really hope you can come back and be a part of this roundtable discussion.
Yeah, I will do my very best. If I'm available, I will absolutely do it. And
same with Mr. Donalds. I'm hoping to get Byron on here soon too. So
okay,
do some kind of roundtable with that as well.
That would be fun.
That's in the works. It's in the works.
Yeah.
Trying to make it happen.
All right.
I've got one last question.
Okay.
I've got 100 questions left, but let's do this one. Given your unique perspective spanning multiple tech revolutions, what advice would you give to young people looking to get involved in the Bitcoin space today?
Wow. Okay. First, be courageous. That to be successful, you're going to have to take a chance. And right now, with this world specifically, let's talk the Bitcoin world, and maybe we can extend it into crypto and all this bigger area. But I'd say I'm a Bitcoin guy. We're at a unique point in history where a young person with an open mind and willing to work hard can make a massive difference. It's the opportunity I had when I got out of college in 1986 in the personal computer industry. Thank God I didn't get the job I wanted. I wanted to go work for General Electric.
Oh, man.
And, it seemed like the thing to do. I went to school in Wisconsin, and General Electric had this big facility where they were building like the MRI machines and all that sort of stuff. That was my first choice. And my second choice was I had gotten deep into the interview process with Northrop, which was making fighter jets. Had I gotten either of those two jobs, I would have been a cog in the wheel, and I would have, who knows how successful I would have been, but I would have been stuck in this massive bureaucratic organization. But what ended up happening was, the job offer I got, actually I got two job offers. One was with the National Security Agency of all places,
the NSA,
to be a spy. So there's a story for another day.
We'll have to have you talk about that.
So that's a good story.
Can't wait to hear that one.
But the other one was with Zenith Data Systems, and in a upstart. It was a big company, but they had a renegade startup division. I was essentially going to work for a startup. And because I went to work for the startup as a young engineer, I got more responsibility than I would have ever gotten. Like right away, it was hey, we don't have enough people to do it. So, here, do this, figure it out, and if you work hard and you figure it out and, you're not afraid to ask questions, you can go for it. So, I think my advice to just keep it simple is, really think about what you want to do and the kind of environment you want, because you're sitting at a world-changing juncture, right? And so you can go work for a company that's willing to change the world, but they're probably not going to pay the same amount. They're going to ask you to work 50% more hours, and they're going to have no clear vision. And you might take that job and it completely busts. Okay. But if you want to change the world, you want to really have an impact on the world, that's what you have to do. Because if you take the other path, the path more traveled, you're gonna slug along.
It's a famous quote or a famous poem. What is it? Two roads diverged in the yellow wood.
Yeah.
And I took the one less traveled by.
Yeah. Take the less traveled one and have some balls. Go for it. If it doesn't work, try again and try again and try again. Because when you get to be my age, what you're going to do is you're going to look back on your life and you're going to say, what was my purpose in life? What did I accomplish? And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but if, let's say, God, I really don't want to insult anybody, but let's say you end up, you become the manager of a Sherwin-Williams paint shop. Okay. Please forgive me, Sherwin-Williams people. But if your passion is paint and helping people have the greatest house colors in the world, and maybe there's some people out there, then God bless you, go do it, but make sure that
that's your passion.
That's your passion. And when you're sitting there looking back at what you've accomplished, that you feel good about that, because you only get one shot at it. And you'd be shocked. Like I said, I cannot fucking believe I'm 60 years old. And where did 40 years of my career go? And I look back and go, I got all these stories, and I'm proud of some of the things that have happened. But I still can't freaking believe it, because the time will go by so quickly. And if you just chase the money, you just chase the I don't know, some fancy title with some fancy company, if it's not fulfilling, fuck it. It's just not worth it. You gotta have the courage, though. And you'll probably face that. And it might be hard times. I share part of my own story. I remember I was at Zenith. I took that job, did well for 6 years. And then I was 27. I had been married before. So I was married with my first wife. We had our 1-year-old baby. And I had an opportunity to do a startup with 2 other guys. And our goal was to design the world's first laptop computer under 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds. We believed we had a way to do it. We actually tried to sell the idea to the company we were at, Zenith, and they didn't want to do it. They didn't think it was marketable. And so essentially we said, fuck it. We convinced some people to invest money in us, and we chased that dream. And that didn't end up being massively successful directly.
But the experience you got from doing something like that.
Well, 1, the experience. 2, we ended up selling the product to Gateway.
I love it.
So we didn't make a ton of money doing that.
But hey, you had a successful exit.
But I got a successful, and I ended up at Gateway, and then at Gateway I got a bunch of stock options, and I rode that, and then we IPO'd, and then we rode that wave, and you know, and here I am now, for better or worse. Not all roses and rainbows and butterflies on the path up. There were plenty of setbacks and plenty of bad things, but I've never chased money. I'd say, money's a great motivator, but I would highly recommend never chasing money for money's sake. It's a really dangerous path. It's not fulfilling. Very little happiness comes from money. You could say that some of the darkest days in my life were in periods when I made the very most money. They're not. You cannot conflate the two things together.